Hello, I'm Rusty Anderson. I work alongside Jess, Trish, and Sonia on the MAISA Early Math team. The purpose of this video is on the screen. Take a second to read that, and I'll create a little clarity. We've been working hard to create a system of support that local districts and ISDs can enter into for the 25-26 school year. The purpose of this presentation is to share a little bit about that system so that you can make an informed decision as we prepare for next school year. 3 outcomes we hope this video provides. The first is, with all design, it's important to have foundational pieces that kind of guide us as we create. So I'll share 4 design principles with us that helped us create the system for the upcoming school year. The second, we hope you walk away with enough to be dangerous around the 30,000 foot view of the system. Know that this video is one of a few that will actually be released over the next couple of weeks. So know that you probably won't get every answer you're looking for in this one, but we're going to create an understanding of the 30,000 foot view. And third, we hope you know enough to be dangerous around what next year's system is and could be so that you can begin conversation with ISD and local leaders as they think about next year plans. Let's go ahead and dive in. Here's the why, what, and how for design principles. I'll just pause for a minute and give you a chance to read those. I'll highlight the what for us. These design principles that I'll share in just a minute are the core concepts that guided us as we designed the system for next year. So we hope that as you hear these 4 design principles, which will show up again many different times in other conversations that we'll have, they lead and they should show up in not only the creation of the system, but the system as it unfolds over time. Let's take a look at those design principles. The first, a trap that some of us fall into often is that we design learning for the teacher level, but not any other layers of the system. And so one thing that we're being really intentional with is that we are creating learning and spaces to network and collaborate for all layers of the system, for all roles of the system. So you'll hear not only classroom teachers as a part of the system, but also principals, math leaders, ISD leaders. Those pieces will all fit together in the system. And 2, you'll feel in this that learning is not going to be a one and done event. A single day at the beginning of the school year or in the middle of the school year leads to very little teacher practice in the end. And so what you'll feel throughout this system as I share it is that the learning will be ongoing, and we hope that it's coherent, meaning connected over time for the end user. And 3, learning often happens for us as adults and kids in a messy trajectory, usually progressing through resistance, compliance, and internalization. So as we think about the system that I'm going to be overviewing, we'll be thinking about how does this system support educators or adults in their learning journey as they progress over time. And number 4, we will hear often as we engage in this work collaborative experimentation. This is the opposite of a closed door at the classroom level or the building level. We're going to be engaging and inviting teachers and leaders to collaborate alongside one another, to be messy and learn alongside one another, which isn't always the case. So be paying attention for these 4 design principles. There are others that we could name. These 4 just seem to bubble up to the top as the big pieces that kind of guided us as we designed the system. let's get to that system. So what this next chunk of our presentation is going to be is just an overview from the balcony. This visual is what we'll use to highlight, and know that you'll have access to this visual as well. It gives a picture of the layers of the system and some of the components at each layer of the system. One thing to pay attention to is on the left side, you'll see that there is the local level. So that is districts, buildings, classrooms. You'll have a regional level, which oftentimes is ISD level. And then you'll also have the state level, which is the early math team, myself, Trish, Sonia, Jess, alongside many other supports that help us work through this. Let's dive in. We're going to start at the bottom of that visual at the local level. What we're going to be offering districts is an opportunity to choose one of two learning foci. The first is number sense routines, where the districts and buildings and classrooms will have a learning focus around number sense routines, and they will be implementing Number Corner as the instructional materials at the classroom level. Each classroom would have 20 minutes of Number Corner a day. You would purchase the materials, which we'll get to in just a little bit, and you'll have a learning focus around Essential 6, which is number sense routines. On the right side in blue is option 2, teaching math through problem-solving tasks. As you see in the details, this is drawing on the research from Cognitively Guided Instruction, where we look at instructional materials that already exist at the district and building level, and we select purposefully tasks that teachers will facilitate with children based on where they currently are. Districts will have an opportunity to choose one of these two options, and the state level team, which we'll get to in a second, will have the resources, tools, and things that are needed to support educators as they move through their learning trajectory. Moving up just a touch, no matter which of those two options you select, number sense routines or problem-solving tasks, each district who partners with MAISA and GELN and ISDs in this work will have these 4 components as a part of their professional learning system. I'll just pause and give you a second to take a look at what's on the screen. You'll notice that either option, number sense routines or problem solving tasks, districts will be invited to have a leadership team to support the implementation and monitoring of the work. Teachers will have professional learning for about an hour and a half per month. The principal from all of the buildings that are a part of the work will have a network to lean on and learn with virtually for an hour and a half a month. And each building will have learning labs embedded throughout the school year. We're planning for approximately at least one per month that teachers can enter into. We'll have more detail coming on those, that level of specificity soon. Moving up slightly is to the regional level. So we've just moved out of the local level and up to the regional level, where we'll have a math leader network. These individuals, these roles are the people who collaborate with the early math team, gather the resources and the learning, and they are the conduit from the state level to the local district level. These math leaders will have some structures that they'll have to gain access to the learning and resources from the early math team. We'll share that coming soon. Know that the math leaders themselves can be an ISD or local district existing role, and I'll say more about that in just a little bit. This role, as you see in the top right, could be filled by an ISD math consultant, a local district coach, a local district leader, a teacher leader who utilizes half of their time or half of their day to support this work and possibly teaches math for the other half of their day. And there are many other options. I think the big thing for all of us to take away at this portion of the presentation is we need to identify a role that can serve in this math leader space for about half of their time. So ideally, it's an existing role. Possibly, if there's funding available at the ISD or local level, you could hire someone to fill this role. But either way, you'll need about 50% of the person's time dedicated to this project, whether you select number sense routines or problem solving tasks. More detail coming on that soon. The last layer of the system at the top, at the state level, is the early math team, as I referenced earlier, myself, Jess, Trish, and Sonia, along with many others who support us in the design and the work throughout the year. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen, there are many things that the early math team engages with. I'll give you a second to peruse some of those. We are closely connected to researchers who support us in this work at the system level, all the way down to the professional learning level for the educators. We create resources that then the math leaders take to the local district leaders and educators. So know that that math leader that you kind of see at the bottom of the screen is a vital role, because they take the things that are created at the state level and bring them to the local district level. We create professional learning, we create leadership team agendas, we support the learning of the Math Leader Network, and we are very responsive to the needs of the field. The work will evolve as the months go on, and so we collect a ton of data and design and define the work for the next month based on what we're noticing happening across the state. Those layers of the system at the balcony level are state, regional, and local. We just had a very quick opportunity to peruse each of those layers and say a little bit about them. Next up is an opportunity to get a little bit more detail and give you enough information so that you can begin conversation, whether it's with ISD leadership or local district leadership. Let's dive in. We're going to zero in on the enabling local conditions. So I already mentioned that each local district who partners in this work will have a local district leadership team. They will have educator learning that will happen. They will have principals, a part of the learning network that will happen virtually. And they will also have learning labs embedded in their work. Here's a little bit more detail about each of those 4 enabling conditions. First, local district leadership team. I'll give you a second to read those. Some districts have leadership team structure already. It is totally fine to utilize a team that you already have existing in your system. Some of you may need to create a new one, and that's okay too. I think the big thing is that this team will have an agenda that's created at the state level that they will facilitate through the math leader for 2 hours once a month. And so you'll think about your team structure if you already have one and say, how can we provide 2 hours of time for this team, knowing that we're going to get an agenda through the math leader from the state level for 2 hours once a month. Up next is at the educator or teacher learning. I'll give you a second to read those. We will be creating professional learning that will be common across the state, similar to the leadership team agenda, common across the state, for educators to learn about the thing that they select. So if I select number sense routines as the thing that our district is going to focus on through Number Corner, you will have professional learning that will come from the state level that will be facilitated by the math leader for the educators. It will be up to local district structure for next year. Some of it's probably set already. Others of you may be able to refine it a little bit as you prepare for this work. We know that every educator will need an hour and a half of learning per month outside of the classroom time to continue their learning journey. You may find that you have a staff meeting structure that you could embed that 1.5 hours into. That would be fantastic. You may find you have grade level teams who meet weekly. If you can utilize that structure where the math leader would come in and support the grade level teams to engage in the learning for an hour and a half a month, that would be fine. There are many other structures that could work. The big thing for all of us is we need to find an hour and a half if you are interested in engaging in this work, and the way that looks can be flexible to your local context. The next is the principal learning and networking. Every building that's engaged in this work will enter or invite their building principal to the principal network. This is 1.5 hours, as you see on the screen, per month. The meetings are virtual and facilitated by the early math team, along with researchers who may join throughout the year. Last but not least, learning labs. We know that we have to create job embedded opportunities to collaborate across classrooms and kind of tear down the closed door structure that can happen across the state. Learning labs are an opportunity to do that. Minimally, we hope that each month there is a learning lab held where educators can join, allowing every educator who's a part of the system to be a part of a learning lab once. Ideally, there are more learning labs that are held than that, but it depends on the size of districts and the math leaders' capacity and the time that they have and the number of teachers that they support. That kind of dictates how many labs will be able to happen. Minimally 1 per month, ideally more than that, depending on size of district and number of teachers that the leader supports. We'll have more detail coming on that very, very soon. A couple specific things to the left side, the number sense routines, and then that right side, that was the problem solving tasks. I'll give you a second first to take a look at the number sense routine specifics that we're putting in front of you. In order to engage in the number sense routines work, the ISD and or the local district will need to purchase Number Corner if they do not have it already. That set of instructional materials will be coming across the state for this work, and it's an enabling condition for us to be able to collaborate and learn together around a common thing. So Number Corner is vital. If a district already has Number Corner, that is totally fine. You wouldn't need to purchase it again. Obviously, you would already have the instructional materials that are kind of the foundational piece for the learning. You will have, if you don't have Number Corner already, you will need to create 20 minutes of additional math time where you will implement Number Corner. That can happen at any time during the day. It does not have to happen right before or right after the 60-minute math block. I want to be clear that we're not saying you take your 60-minute math block and cut it to 40 minutes and then make Number Corner 20 minutes. Number Corner needs to be in addition to the 60-minute block that you already have with your instructional materials for your district. The other thing that normally comes into play with Number Corner, which is a technical aspect, is wall space. It does take up about 8 feet of a wall. Classrooms will need to make space for that Number Corner display. And on the other side was the teaching math through problem solving tasks. I'll give you a second to take a look at those. This opportunity is one that fits any set of instructional materials that a district might have. What we're going to have a chance to do is do a lot of learning around facilitating tasks with children. We'll take a look at your instructional materials and we'll select a good task that the teacher will facilitate with the kids. And we have to be willing to engage deeply with our instructional materials and also enable educators to make really, really informed decisions about them. So at the district level or the building level, know that we're sticking with the instructional materials that you have in place already for the 25-26 school year. And we're going to be thinking really, really hard about how to utilize them through a problem-solving approach. As we've said all along, the opportunities to collaborate are going to be very many. So just know that collaborating with not only educators in your building or across buildings in your district, but also with other districts, especially those who have the same sets of instructional materials as you do. So if you have instructional material X and a district across the state has the same one, will enable space to collaborate with them. The willingness to do that will be important. I'll step back up to the big picture. We've provided a very quick and short understanding of 4 design principles. We've given an overview of the system at the local level, at the regional level with the math leaders, and at the state level in the creation of resources and support for those math leaders to bring the work to life in local districts. We hope that you know enough to be able to communicate or start to communicate around what next year could look like and how this opportunity might fit into your system. As I said, I'm Rusty Anderson. I'm happy to answer any emails or jump on a phone call or a Zoom if anybody would like to collaborate or ask additional questions. It's important to know that there are other videos that will be coming soon in the next week or two to create clarity in additional layers of detail. This video is a start, but it doesn't answer every question that we might have. The big thing for all of us is we have an idea of the system. We have an idea of the 2 options that are available. You know that you at the local level or the ISD level would need to identify a math leader who would spend about half of their time leading this work in collaboration with both the early math team and local district educators. I wish you all well. We'll chat soon.